Hey there, my name is Alex, I am the Silver Mont, and this is a guide for Ironeye in Elden Ring Nightreign. We'll start with his strengths and weaknesses. I would say Ironeye is a top tier character in what he brings to the team. Safe, consistent, ranged damage. He also has superb ability and ultimate. His main weaknesses would be that he's on the squishy side, and he's not rocking oodles of FP, not that he needs it. Moving on to his abilities. Ironeye's passive is to increase the chance for enemies to drop items. Combine this with a silver foul foot or another item discovery boost and you'll see quite a few more drops from enemies. Nothing crazy, but there's always a chance they'll drop something game changing. With how random things are in this game, it helps. Ironeye's ability is to mark enemies. Once marked, they take 10% more damage. I'm not certain if this is from all players or just Ironeye. But if they take enough damage from all sources whilst marked, you'll deal a bonus chunk of damage and give the enemy a mini stagger. Effectively, you're dealing a special injury, and once you do enough damage to that injury, it explodes, dealing damage and staggering the enemy. It's really good. Considering how important it is to stagger enemies in this game, it's not to be underestimated how useful this is. And that's not all it can do, as if that wasn't enough. The marking ability also has an insane number of iframes on it, which makes it fantastic to use as a defensive move to avoid a tricky incoming attack. Maybe like Gaping Jaw's stupid grab attack, for example. I would argue that it's the smarter use for it is to use it defensively. Damage is good, staggering is great, that's all crucial, but it's more important to stay alive, because when you're dead, your DPS is usually 0. Likewise, Ironeye's ultimate is extremely versatile. A giant arrow, which has an explosive shockwave. Not only does this stagger enemies and bosses, such as stunning the Augur boss out of his sleep attack, or stunning the Gaping Jaw when he's grabbed one of your friends and is nibbling on them, and it does high damage. It can be used to deal with a bunch of small enemies as well if you need some breathing room, and you can revive your friends with it too. Best time to use it? Either to stun a boss out of a specific attack that you don't want them doing, or to make some breathing room, and maybe to revive a downed teammate near the boss at the same time. In short, if you're in a boss fight with no revives, end of day fights, then using it defensively is the best bet if you know that people are going to go down. If you can respawn, then feel free to use it more liberally against smaller enemies and bosses, offensively for damage in stagger windows. Beyond all of this, how about his stat spread? Although Ironeye is obviously a bow expert, he can be thought of as a dex and arcane character, so bows, curved swords, katanas and daggers all work well. Bows are the main thing you'll want, but it doesn't hurt to have another melee weapon. And yes, you can use shields on him, and for the first time in one of these games, you can have a shield in one hand and a bow in the other and just R1. And you can use a bow one-handed in this game, so don't be afraid to pick up a shield. And whilst his stats definitely aren't magic oriented, it's definitely worth grabbing a catalyst if you notice one with a weapon enchant on it. Because yes, you can also enchant your bow. Do you want a black flame bow? Yes please you do. As for what items to aim for specifically, well, having a seal with a weapon enchant and a shield, those are nice but not like mandatory. Anything that increases range damage seems like a no-brainer. Things that increase the damage fall-off range for projectiles is very nice. The consistent attacking style of Ironeye means he's great at applying statuses. I had a run with a poison bow, a scarlet rot bow, and Radahn's legendary bow, which was great. I'd apply both damage over time and then chunk them with the lion bow. Generally though, I'd grab a bow that matches the boss's weakness, where possible, of course. But yes, remember that you can apply greases to your bow as well as weapon enchants, if you didn't happen to find a bow that matches the boss's weakness. Ironeye can also free aim his bow by two-handing it and holding the block button, which is good for aiming at headshots, but you don't need to do this to be successful as the character. It's worth noting though, when you're in this aiming mode, it does count as walking, so if you have any on-walk effects, this will trigger them. And it can be very strong if you stack those. But also remember that you need to be at a sweet spot distance as Ironeye. You can hit the boss from miles away for 1 damage. Make sure you're close enough to deal real damage, and that's also why damage fall off is nice as a passive on weapons. As for relics, I would argue None of them are super important to the point they're worth noting, save one, specifically for Ironeye. Adding another charge to his ability. This is one you should always bring, if you have it. Given how important his ability is, being able to do it twice as much is, yeah, use that every time. Other than that, it's just generic ones that would be good for more or less every character, in my opinion. Anything that increases the amount of runes you get is always going to be, in my opinion, a priority. There's a lot of nice options and you can't really go wrong with Ironeye. Do you want to focus on his strengths and make them even greater? Or maybe you want to focus on his weakness and give him more health and defense? Both are valid. Find out what works for you, but definitely bring anything with +1 to his ability. Ironeye is a very powerful and fairly simple character to use. When played right, he brings a lot to the team. Great damage, great at reviving, great utility. Got any tips or questions in regards to Ironeye? Leave them down below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you soon. Incidentally, if you would like to support my channel, which has more than a decade's worth of content on at this point, thousands of videos if you're new to it, well, check out the channel memberships or Patreon. These are tough times, and I'm hungry. I want a sandwich.
Yes, this... Yeah.